Admiral Wu Jin stood on the bridge of his flagship watching the stars shift back to their normal positions as the massive fleet dropped out of hyperspace. 3,000 ships moved through the darkness of space like a metal storm cloud approaching, a small blue world. The planet called Earth hung in the distance looking peaceful and quiet. Wu Jin smiled as he looked at the tactical display showing his enormous fleet spread across several thousand kilometers of space. This would be the largest invasion in Dominion history, and he would be the one to lead it. Captain Hisung walked up to stand beside the Admiral holding a data pad with the latest intelligence reports. The information about the humans looked very promising for a quick victory. Their technology seemed basic and their military appeared weak. The scout ships had reported seeing only small patrol vessels and simple energy weapons. The humans had discovered faster-than-light travel only recently, and their ships looked crude compared to Dominion engineering. "Admiral, the target scan is complete," Hisung said, looking at the numbers on his screen. "The planet has approximately 8 billion inhabitants spread across 7 continents. Their largest settlements hold about 20 million people each. We can see basic defensive installations around their major cities, but nothing that should challenge our weapons." Wu Jin nodded and walked to the main viewing screen where Earth grew larger as they approached. The planet looked so normal with its blue oceans and white clouds. Green and brown land masses covered about 30% of the surface. It reminded him of other worlds they had conquered over the years. Most civilizations at this level of development surrendered quickly when they saw the size of a Dominion fleet. "What about their space forces?" Wu Jin asked as he studied the planet's orbital region. He could see several small objects moving in regular patterns around the world, but they looked like simple satellites or space stations. Nothing that appeared to be military installations. "Very limited, sir," Hyesung replied, checking his reports again. "We count maybe 50 vessels total in their entire fleet. Most appear to be exploration or cargo ships. Their largest military vessels are about the size of our scout ships. The scouts reported that human weapons use basic energy projection systems and simple missile technology. Nothing above level 3 on the Dominion threat scale." The bridge crew worked quietly at their stations preparing for the invasion. Communications. Officers checked their equipment, while weapons specialists ran final tests on the massive gun batteries. The flagship alone carried enough firepower to destroy a small moon. The 3,000 ships in the fleet could turn the surface of Earth into molten glass if needed. Lieutenant Sun Ho approached from the sensor station with more detailed scans of the human settlements. "Admiral, we are detecting some unusual energy signatures from their industrial centers," he reported. "The power output seems higher than expected for their technology level, but it might just be inefficient power generation systems." Wu Jin barely listened to the report as he focused on the tactical situation. The humans would see the Dominion fleet soon, and probably try to send some kind of communication. Standard procedure called for offering surrender terms first before beginning bombardment. Most civilizations accepted these terms quickly when they realized how hopeless resistance would be. "Sir, we are detecting movement in the human fleet," called out Ensign Minjin from his position at the long-range sensors. "Approximately 30 vessels are moving toward our position. They appear to be forming some kind of defensive line near the 4th planet in this system." The Admiral laughed quietly at this news. 30 ships against 3,000 seemed almost insulting. Did the humans really think they could stop the Dominion fleet with such a small force? Perhaps they were simply trying to buy time for their planet to prepare some kind of evacuation. Either way, it would not matter much. "Reduce speed to half and maintain formation," Wu Jin ordered. "Let them see the full size of our fleet. Sometimes a show of force is enough to avoid unnecessary destruction." The massive Dominion fleet slowed its approach, giving the humans time to study what they were facing. Wu Jin had used this tactic many times before. When a primitive civilization saw thousands of warships approaching their world, they usually realized that resistance was pointless. It saved time and resources if the enemy surrendered without fighting. Captain Hisung moved to the communications station to prepare the standard surrender demand. The message would be broadcast in multiple languages, including whatever primitive communication system the humans used. The terms were always the same: complete surrender and acceptance of Dominion rule in exchange for minimal destruction of infrastructure and population. "Admiral, the human ships have stopped moving," reported Ensign Minjin. "They are holding position in a loose formation about 2 million kilometers from our current location. They appear to be waiting for something." Wu Jin studied the tactical display showing the positions of both fleets. The human formation looked almost casual compared to the precise military arrangement of his ships. Their vessels were spread out in a pattern that made no tactical sense. It looked more like they were just floating in space rather than preparing for battle. "Begin the surrender broadcast," he ordered. "Use Standard Protocol 7. Give them 30 minutes to respond before we begin demonstration attacks." The message went out across multiple frequencies in dozens of languages. The Dominion had perfected this process over many years of conquest. Most civilizations understood the basic concept even if they could not translate every word. "Submit or be destroyed" was a message that transcended language barriers. Minutes passed as they waited for the human response. Wu Jin expected to receive a panicked plea for mercy, or perhaps desperate questions about surrender terms. Instead, the communication station remained quiet. The humans seemed to be taking their time considering the situation. "Sir, we are receiving a transmission from the human fleet," announced Petty Officer Yeji from the communications board. "It appears to be coming from their lead vessel. The signal is surprisingly clear, and they are using our standard military communication protocol." This surprised Wu Jin since the intelligence reports had not mentioned that humans understood Dominion communication systems. Perhaps they had captured some of their technology from previous encounters with scout ships. It would not change the outcome, but it was an interesting development. "Put it on the main speakers," he ordered. The bridge fell quiet as they waited to hear what the humans would say. Wu Jin expected either surrender or some desperate attempt at negotiation. Instead, a calm male voice spoke in perfect Dominion standard language. "Unknown fleet, you have entered sovereign human space without permission. This is Commander Jinwoo of the Terran Defense Force vessel Terra's Shield. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences." The bridge crew looked at each other in shock. Several officers actually laughed at the audacity of the message. A tiny fleet of primitive ships was ordering the mighty Dominion Armada to withdraw. The humans either had no understanding of the situation, or they possessed courage that bordered on insanity. Wu Jin smiled as he considered his response. The humans had made their choice, and now they would learn the price of defying the Dominion. He would make their destruction quick and clean as an example to any other worlds that might consider resistance. "Open a return channel," he commanded. "Let me speak to this Commander Jinwoo directly." The communication link activated, and Wu Jin spoke with the authority of someone who had conquered dozens of worlds. "Human Commander, this is Admiral Wu Jin of the 47th Conquest Fleet. You are facing 3,000 warships carrying enough firepower to destroy your entire world. I offer you one final chance to surrender unconditionally. You have 10 minutes to consider this generous offer." The human response came immediately without any hesitation or fear. "Admiral Wu Jin, your offer is rejected. If you do not withdraw within the next 5 minutes, we will consider your fleet a hostile invasion force and respond accordingly." The bridge erupted in laughter from multiple stations. Even the normally serious Captain Hyasung smiled at the human commander's response. Wu Jin shook his head in amazement at human stupidity. They were about to learn a lesson that would echo across the galaxy for generations to come. Admiral Wu Jin checked the chronometer on his command display as the final seconds of the human deadline passed. 5 minutes had come and gone without any change in the situation. The 30 human ships still held their loose formation while his massive fleet waited in perfect military order. The time for talk was over, and now the humans would learn what happened when primitive worlds defied the Dominion. "Target the lead human vessel," he ordered, pointing at the tactical display. "Use main battery from the Eternal Conquest. One shot should be enough to demonstrate our superiority. After they see their flagship destroyed, the rest will surrender quickly." Captain Hyasung relayed the order to the designated battleship. The Eternal Conquest was one of the most powerful vessels in the fleet, carrying weapons that could crack the surface of a planet. Using such overwhelming force against a single small ship seemed almost unfair, but Wu Jin wanted to make a clear statement about human chances of survival. the massive cannon charged with energy that made the space around it shimmer and bend. Targeting systems locked onto the human vessel called Terra's shield, which appeared to be less than half the size of a Dominion destroyer. The weapon fired, sending a beam of concentrated plasma across the distance between the fleets. The energy bolt could have vaporized a mountain or melted through the armor of any known warship. The beam struck the human ship directly in the center of its hull, where the bridge appeared to be located. Wu Jin expected to see the vessel explode, in a brilliant flash of light and debris. Instead, something impossible happened. The energy beam hit what looked like empty space around the human ship and simply disappeared. The plasma bolt scattered harmlessly in all directions like water hitting an invisible wall. What just happened? Wu Jin demanded, staring at the tactical display. The human ship remained completely undamaged, floating calmly in space, as if nothing had occurred. The weapon that should have destroyed it had been stopped by some kind of defensive system that did not appear on any of their sensors. Lieutenant Sunho worked frantically at his station trying to understand the sensor readings. "Sir, I'm detecting massive energy fluctuations around all the human vessels," he reported with confusion in his voice. "The power levels are beyond anything in our database. These readings suggest they are generating more energy than our entire fleet combined." The bridge fell silent as everyone tried to process this information. The intelligence reports had described humans as a primitive species with basic technology. They were supposed to be easy targets for conquest, not advanced enough to have weapons that could threaten Dominion ships. Something was very wrong with the situation. "That is impossible," Captain Hyesung said, looking at the same sensor data. "According to our scouts, these humans barely understand faster than light travel. They should not have defensive systems capable of stopping our main battle cannons. There must be some kind of sensor error." Before Wu Jin could respond to this analysis, the human fleet began to move. But they did not move the way normal ships moved through space using conventional drives and thrusters. Instead, the vessels seemed to fold space around themselves, appearing in different locations instantly, without crossing the distance in between. In less than 3 seconds, the entire human formation had completely rearranged itself. Commander Jin Wu's ship, Terra's shield, had moved from its position at the edge of the human formation to a spot directly in the middle of the Dominion fleet. The human vessel now floated calmly between dozens of massive Dominion warships that could have destroyed it with close-range fire. Yet none of the automated defense systems had even detected its movement until it appeared among them. "How did they do that?" Ensign Min Jun called out from his sensor station. "The human ship moved 18,000 kilometers in 2 seconds. Our instruments show no propulsion system and no energy signature from conventional drives. It just appeared in our formation." Wu Jin stared at the tactical display, trying to understand what kind of technology could allow instant movement across such distances. The Dominion had conquered 47 worlds and encountered hundreds of different species, but none had demonstrated anything like this capability. Space-folding technology was theoretical at best and required massive amounts of energy to achieve even small distances. The human ship turned slowly to face the nearest Dominion battleship. Weapon ports opened along its hull, revealing systems that looked nothing like conventional energy cannons or missile launchers. Instead, strange crystalline structures emerged from the ship's surface, glowing with an eerie blue light that made the space around them appear to twist and bend. "All ships target the human vessel," Wu Jin shouted, realizing that somehow the situation had become dangerous. "Maximum firepower, all weapons fire at will." Dozens of Dominion ships opened fire simultaneously, sending hundreds of energy beams and plasma bolts toward the single human vessel. The barrage should have been enough to destroy a small moon, but once again the attacks simply disappeared when they came within a few hundred meters of the target. The human ship's defensive systems absorbed or deflected every shot without any visible effort. Then the human ship fired back. A beam of pure white energy lanced out from the crystalline weapon system. The beam moved faster than light itself somehow, arriving at its target before the sensors could track its path. The energy struck the Dominion battleship Endless Victory directly through its main armor belt. The massive vessel simply ceased to exist. There was no explosion, no debris, no trace that a ship had ever been there. One moment, a kilometer-long warship floated in space, and the next moment, there was only empty vacuum. Impossible, whispered Captain Hee-sung, staring at the empty space where the battleship had been. Nothing can destroy a ship that completely. There should be debris energy signatures, something to show what happened. The human weapon fired again, and another Dominion ship vanished from existence. Then again and again, with each shot, eliminating another vessel from the fleet. The beam seemed to convert matter directly into energy with perfect efficiency, leaving no trace of the destroyed ships. In less than 30 seconds, 17 of the most powerful warships in the Dominion Navy had been completely erased. Lieutenant Sunho's voice cracked with fear as he reported sensor readings that made no scientific sense. Sir, the human weapon appears to be using controlled antimatter guided by gravitational manipulation fields. The energy output is beyond our measurement capabilities. Each shot contains enough power to destroy a small planet. The other human ships began firing as, well, each vessel produced the same impossible white energy beams that deleted Dominion ships from reality. The weapons fired with perfect accuracy across impossible distances, striking targets that should have been beyond the range of any known weapon system. Worse, the beams seemed to choose their targets deliberately, causing maximum disruption to the fleet formation. Wu Jin watched in horror as his carefully organized invasion force dissolved into chaos. Ships tried to scatter and avoid the human weapons, but the energy beams moved faster than thought itself. Captains screamed orders over the communication channels as their vessels vanished around them. In less than 5 minutes, the Dominion had lost over 200 ships without managing to damage a single human vessel. All ships retreat, he ordered desperately. Emergency jump to hyperspace immediately. But even this proved impossible. The human ships had somehow created a field around the entire battle area that prevented faster-than-light travel. Dominion vessels found their hyperspace drives completely non-functional, trapped in normal space with enemies that possessed weapons beyond comprehension. Commander Jin Woo's voice came over the communication channels, calm and professional, despite the destruction happening around him. Admiral Wu Jin, you came here expecting to find primitives. You were mistaken. We are not primitive, we are patient. We have been watching your empire expand across the galaxy for 200 years, studying your methods and learning your weaknesses. Today, that patience ends. The human fleet continued its methodical destruction of Dominion ships. Each target was chosen with perfect tactical precision, eliminating command vessels and heavy weapons platforms first. The humans were not simply attacking randomly. They were systematically dismantling the invasion fleet with the skill of military professionals who understood exactly how to defeat their enemy. More human ships began appearing throughout the battle area. Not the small patrol vessels the scouts had reported, but massive warships that dwarfed even the largest Dominion battleships. Each new arrival brought weapons systems that defied every law of physics the Dominion understood. Some ships fired beams that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously, while others launched projectiles that could apparently travel backward through time to strike targets before they were fired. Captain Hee-sung grabbed Wu Jin's arm, with shaking hands as the tactical display showed the true scope of the disaster. Admiral, we have lost over 800 ships in less than 15 minutes. The humans are not just defeating us, they are playing with us. This is not a battle, this is an execution. Wu Jin realized that everything the Dominion thought they knew about humans was wrong. These were not primitives with basic technology. These were advanced beings who had deliberately hidden their true capabilities. Admiral Wu Jin stared at the tactical display as red symbols representing destroyed Dominion ships continued to disappear from the screen. In 20 minutes of combat, his mighty invasion fleet had been reduced to less than half its original strength. The humans had not lost a single vessel, while their impossible weapons continued to erase Dominion ships from existence with each perfectly aimed shot. Emergency communications flooded the command channels as surviving ship captains reported the same horrifying story. Colonel Minsu aboard the troop transport Conquest's Edge transmitted a desperate message through static-filled channels. Admiral, the humans are not just using advanced weapons, they are using our own tactics against us. Every maneuver we attempt, they counter perfectly as if they know our battle plans better than we do. Lieutenant Yoonji worked frantically at the communication station trying to intercept human transmissions. What she discovered made the situation even more terrifying. Sir, I am detecting massive communication networks throughout this solar system, she reported with fear in her voice. The humans are coordinating with installations we cannot see. Their simple patrol fleet is receiving tactical data from sources all across this region of space. The bridge shook as another nearby Dominion ship vanished in a flash of impossible energy. Captain Hyson gripped his station to keep from falling as the flagship's shields absorbed radiation from the destruction. Admiral, whatever these humans really are, they have been preparing for this encounter for a very long time. This is not a defensive battle. This is a carefully planned trap. Wu Jin felt cold realization wash over him as the pieces of the puzzle began to fit together. The intelligence reports about primitive humans with basic technology had been completely wrong. But how could Dominion scouts have been so mistaken about an entire civilization? The only possible answer was that the humans had deliberately deceived them for years or even decades. Commander Jinwoo's voice came over the communication channels again, calm and controlled despite the chaos of battle. Admiral Wu Jin, your scouts have been studying our outer colonies and research stations for the past 50 years. We allowed them to see exactly what we wanted them to see. Simple settlements, peaceful exploration vessels, and basic energy weapons. You never saw our real capabilities because we chose to remain hidden. The human ship. Terra's shield moved through the Dominion formation like it was dancing between raindrops. No weapon could track its impossible movements, and no shield could stop its devastating attacks. The vessel seemed to exist outside normal space, allowing it to appear anywhere instantly, without regard for distance or obstacles. How long have they been watching us? Captain Hyasung asked as he studied the tactical data. If they know our battle strategies well enough to counter them perfectly, they must have been observing Dominion military operations for generations. Lieutenant Sunho looked up from his sensor station with readings that defied explanation. Sir, the energy signatures from human ships suggest technology that is centuries ahead of anything in our databases. These are not recent developments. This represents decades or even centuries of advanced research. The humans have been hiding their true technological level since before first contact. More human vessels began appearing throughout the solar system, emerging from positions that had appeared empty on all previous scans. These were not small patrol ships, but massive battle platforms that made Dominion dreadnoughts look like shuttlecraft. Each new arrival brought weapon systems that operated on principles the Dominion had never encountered. Dr. Su-Yung, the fleet's chief scientist, worked desperately to understand the readings from human technology. Admiral, the humans are manipulating fundamental forces in ways that should be impossible, she transmitted from her research vessel. Their weapons appear to control gravity, time, and space itself. This technology suggests they understand physics at a level we have not even theorized about. The tactical display showed human ships moving in perfect coordination across impossible distances. Some vessels appeared to be in multiple locations simultaneously, while others seemed to fire weapons that struck targets before the shots were fired. The humans were not just technologically superior, they possessed capabilities that challenged basic understanding of reality itself. Wu Jin realized that the Dominion had walked into a trap that had been centuries in the making. The humans had not developed advanced technology recently. They had possessed it all along while carefully maintaining the illusion of being a primitive civilization. Every scout report, every intelligence assessment, every strategic planning session had been based on completely false information. Sir, we are detecting massive installations throughout this solar system, reported Ensign Minjin from long range. Sensors. Structures that were hidden from our initial scans are becoming visible. The entire system appears to be one enormous military fortress. The revelation hit the bridge crew like a physical blow. Earth was not a single world with basic defenses, it was the center of a military complex that spanned multiple planets and asteroid fields. Weapon platforms that could destroy stars hid behind advanced cloaking technology, while shipyards producing impossible vessels operated in dimensions the Dominion could not detect. Commander Jinwoo opened another communication channel broadcasting to all surviving Dominion vessels. You came here believing you would conquer primitives who had barely learned to travel between stars. The truth is that humanity achieved faster than light travel over 300 years ago. We have been exploring the galaxy since before your empire existed. Captain Hisung pulled up historical data trying to find any trace of human activity in Dominion records. Admiral, there are gaps in our exploration logs going back 2 centuries. Entire star systems that were surveyed but showed no signs of intelligent life. If the humans were already exploring those regions, they must have been avoiding contact deliberately. The implications were staggering. Humanity had possessed advanced space travel and sophisticated technology for centuries, while the Dominion believed they were encountering a species that had just discovered faster-than-light drive. Every assumption about human capabilities had been carefully crafted, deception designed to lure the Dominion into exactly this situation. The humans have been playing a game we did not even know existed, Woojin said quietly as he watched another formation of Dominion ships disappear under human weapons fire. While we thought we were conquering primitive worlds, they were studying us, learning our weaknesses, and preparing for this moment. Lieutenant Yunji intercepted more human communications, revealing the true scope of their preparation. Sir, the humans have detailed intelligence files on every Dominion military unit, every weapon system, every tactical doctrine we have ever used. They know more about our own capabilities than some of our own commanders do. The human fleet continued, its systematic destruction of Dominion forces, but now Woojin could see the pattern. The humans were not simply trying to destroy the invasion fleet, they were conducting a comprehensive analysis of Dominion military capabilities. Every ship destroyed provided data about weapons armor and defensive systems that would be used to plan future operations. More human reinforcements arrived from deeper in the solar system. Vessels that looked nothing like conventional spacecraft moved through space using principles that made no sense to Dominion science. Some ships appeared to be made of pure energy, while others seemed to exist partially in normal space and partially in dimensions that could not be measured. Dr. Suyong transmitted another report from her analysis of human technology. Admiral, I am detecting quantum field manipulations that suggest the humans can control the basic structure of matter and energy. Their ships do not just travel faster than light, they appear to move through folded space that allows them to ignore distance entirely. The tactical situation continued to deteriorate as human weapons eliminated Dominion vessels with mechanical precision. Each shot was calculated to cause maximum disruption to fleet coordination while gathering intelligence about Dominion defensive capabilities. The humans were not just winning the battle, they were using it as a learning experience. Captain Hisung reviewed damage reports from across the fleet, finding the same pattern repeated on every surviving ship. Admiral, the human weapons seem designed to disable rather than destroy when possible. They are taking prisoners and capturing technology from damaged vessels. This is not random destruction, this is systematic intelligence gathering. Woojin understood, with growing horror, that the battle was serving multiple purposes for the humans. They were eliminating a Dominion invasion force, while simultaneously conducting the largest intelligence operation in galactic history. Every destroyed ship, every captured crew member, every piece of recovered technology would provide information for future conflicts. The human commander's voice came over the communication channels one more time, carrying a message that chilled Woojin to his core. Admiral Woojin, your invasion has provided us with exactly what we needed. Detailed information about current Dominion military capabilities, tactical doctrines, and strategic planning. We thank you for this intelligence. Now, we can begin the next phase of our operation. Admiral Woojin watched his fleet continue to shrink under the relentless human assault as the true scope of humanity's deception became clear. The surviving Dominion ships were scattered and demoralized, while the human vessels moved through space with perfect coordination. What had begun as a simple conquest had become a nightmare that would reshape the galaxy forever. Admiral Tai Hyun of the Human Defense Force opened a direct communication channel to all remaining Dominion vessels. His voice carried the authority of someone who had been planning this moment for decades. Dominion forces, you have 2 options. Surrender completely and unconditionally, or be destroyed where you float. You have 5 minutes to decide. The offer sent shockwaves through the surviving Dominion commanders. Captain Hisung looked at Woojin with desperation in his eyes. Admiral, we cannot surrender to primitives. The Dominion has never been defeated by a lesser species. Our honor demands that we continue fighting. But Wu Jin understood that honor meant nothing against enemies who could erase ships from existence with weapons that defied physics itself. The humans had demonstrated technological superiority so complete that continued resistance was not brave, it was suicidal. Yet something deep in his military training rebelled against the idea of surrender. All ships formed defensive sphere formation. He ordered over fleet communications. Prepare to detonate antimatter reserves on my command. If we cannot defeat them, we will take as many human ships as possible with us. The desperate gambit represented the last tactical option available to Dominion forces. By gathering all surviving ships together and detonating their power cores simultaneously, they could create an explosion powerful enough to destroy everything within several thousand kilometers. It was a tactic of last resort that had never been used in the history of Dominion warfare. Commander Jinwu's response came immediately, showing that the humans had anticipated even this final desperate move. Admiral Wu Jin, we are aware of your intentions. Please observe what happens when we choose to prevent your suicide attack. The space around the Dominion fleet began to shimmer and bend as human technology manipulated fundamental forces on a massive scale. Chief Engineer Seokjin explained the process to his crew aboard one of the human vessels. We are using quantum field generators to create a containment matrix around their antimatter reserves. Any attempt to detonate their power cores will result in the energy being channeled directly into our own weapon systems. The realization that even their final desperate gambit had been anticipated and countered broke the spirit of many Dominion commanders. Captain Sunho transmitted from his position aboard a damaged destroyer. Admiral, the humans are not just defeating us, they are controlling every aspect of this battle. They knew what we would do before we decided to do it. General Junho of the Human Strategic Command opened another communication channel, broadcasting tactical information that stunned the surviving Dominion officers. Admiral Wu Jin, your invasion fleet was detected and tracked from the moment it entered this galaxy. We have been monitoring your approach for 6 months, while preparing countermeasures for every weapon system and tactical doctrine your species has ever developed. The tactical display showed the true extent of human preparation. Sensor networks spanning multiple star systems had tracked the Dominion fleet's movement across thousands of light years. Every ship had been catalogued, every weapon system analyzed, and every possible tactical response prepared in advance. The humans had turned the art of war into an exact science. Captain Myung led a squadron of human vessels that demonstrated technology beyond Dominion comprehension. Her ships seemed to exist in multiple dimensions, simultaneously allowing them to attack from directions that did not exist in normal spacetime. The weapons struck Dominion vessels from above, below, and inside, all at the same moment, making defense impossible. How do we fight enemies who can attack us from dimensions we cannot perceive? Captain Hisung asked as he watched another group of Dominion ships disappear under multidimensional assault. Our shields and armor are useless against weapons that bypass three-dimensional space entirely. The answer came from Commander Hyunwoo, leader of humanity's deep space operations. You cannot fight us, Admiral, because you are still thinking in terms of conventional warfare. We stopped using conventional tactics centuries ago when we realized that the galaxy contained species far more dangerous than ourselves. Long-range sensors began detecting human fleets in positions throughout Dominion space. The invasion of Earth had not just been repelled, it had triggered a coordinated human offensive against every major Dominion military installation. Admiral Taehyun transmitted star charts showing human forces already in position around 43 Dominion worlds. Impossible, Wu Jin whispered as he studied the tactical data. How could human ships reach Dominion space without being detected? Our border monitoring systems would have identified any large fleet movements. The answer revealed another layer of human deception that had been operating for decades. Professor Nayan, a human xenopolitics expert, explained the situation with scientific precision. Admiral, your border monitoring systems have been compromised for over 50 years. We installed quantum surveillance networks throughout Dominion space during what you believed were routine exploration missions by primitive human vessels. The scope of human intelligence operations became clear as more data emerged. Every Dominion military base had been mapped, every weapon system analyzed, and every strategic plan intercepted by human agents who had been operating undetected for generations. The invasion of Earth had provided the final piece of intelligence needed to begin humanity's own expansion into Dominion territory. Director Kyung-soo of Human Intelligence revealed information that explained decades of seemingly random events throughout Dominion history. Every primitive world your empire conquered in the past 50 years received covert human assistance. Technology transfers, tactical training, and weapon systems were secretly provided to resistance movements that your forces believed they had completely destroyed. The implications were staggering. Rebellions that the Dominion had suppressed, guerrilla movements that had been eliminated, and resistance cells that had apparently been wiped out had all received human support. The Dominion had been fighting a shadow war for decades without even realizing it. Captain Ji-won prepared to lead the first wave of human expeditionary forces departing Earth for Dominion space. Her mission briefing revealed the true scope of human planning. Our objective is not conquest but liberation. We will coordinate simultaneous uprisings on 37 worlds, while providing advanced weapons and tactical support to indigenous resistance movements. The Dominion faced not just humanity but a galaxy-spanning coalition of species that had been secretly organized and armed over generations. Every world the Dominion had conquered contained hidden human technology and trained resistance fighters waiting for the signal to begin coordinated rebellions. Lieutenant Yoonji intercepted communication traffic from across Dominion space, revealing that the uprisings had already begun. Sir, we are receiving distress signals from military installations throughout the Empire. Resistance movements on dozens of worlds have simultaneously launched coordinated attacks using advanced weapons that match human technology profiles. The careful work of centuries was paying off as human agents activated sleeper cells that had been embedded throughout Dominion civilization. Supply lines were being cut, communication networks disrupted, and military bases attacked by enemies who possessed weapons and tactics that Dominion forces could not counter. Admiral Wu Jin realized that his invasion fleet had not just failed, it had provided the trigger for the collapse of the entire Dominion Empire. The humans had used his attack on Earth as justification for a liberation campaign that would free every species the Dominion had ever conquered. Commander Jinwoo opened one final communication channel to deliver humanity's ultimatum to the galaxy. The age of Dominion tyranny ends today. Every world you have enslaved will be freed. Every species you have oppressed will be liberated, and every weapon you have used for conquest will be turned against your own military forces. Your empire dies here in the shadow of Earth. The surviving Dominion officers watched in stunned silence as human fleets prepared to depart for every corner of what had been Dominion space. The invasion that was supposed to add Earth to the Empire had instead marked the beginning of humanity's emergence as the dominant military force in the galaxy. Captain Hye-sung looked at the tactical display showing human ships positioning themselves for jumps to hyperspace. Admiral, they are not just defeating us, they are replacing us. The humans intend to reshape the entire galactic political structure. Wu Jin nodded slowly as he finally understood the true scope of human ambition. They had not been hiding from the Dominion, they had been preparing to replace it with something far more powerful and far more dangerous to anyone who threatened innocent civilizations. 6 months had passed since the destruction of the Dominion invasion fleet, and Admiral Wu Jin found himself in a place he never could have imagined. He stood on the observation deck of a human vessel, looking out at the rebuilt world of Kepler-7, which had once been a Dominion colony. The planet's surface showed no signs of the devastating battle that had liberated it from Imperial rule. The surviving officers of the former invasion fleet had been taken to secure facilities throughout human space where they discovered the true extent of humanity's galactic civilization. What they had believed was a single primitive world was actually the administrative center of a multi-system alliance that had existed in secret for over 2 centuries. Professor Naeun walked beside Wu Jin as they toured the rehabilitation centers, where former Dominion personnel were learning about the new galactic order. She explained the human approach to dealing with conquered enemies. We do not believe in revenge or punishment for following orders, Admiral. Our goal is to help former Dominion citizens understand that there are better ways to organize interstellar civilization. The facilities were unlike anything Wu Jin had expected. Instead of prison camps or execution sites, the humans had created educational centers where former enemies could learn new skills and contribute to rebuilding the worlds that had been damaged during the liberation campaigns. Former Dominion soldiers worked alongside resistance fighters and human engineers to restore infrastructure and establish democratic governments. Director Kyung-soo of Human Intelligence had revealed the full scope of the operation during one of their orientation sessions. The Dominion controlled 47 worlds but oppressed over 300 different species. We have been in contact with resistance movements on every one of those worlds for decades, providing them with technology training and strategic planning for coordinated uprisings. The results had been more successful than even the humans had hoped. Within 3 months of the Earth battle, 39 Dominion worlds had been liberated by their own populations using weapons and tactics provided by human advisors. The remaining 8 worlds had surrendered without fighting when they realized the hopelessness of their situation. Captain Haesung had adapted to the new reality better than most former Dominion officers. He now worked as a liaison helping to coordinate the peaceful transition of power on former Imperial worlds. The humans were right about us, he admitted during one of their conversations. We had become so focused on conquest that we forgot there might be better ways to bring order to the galaxy. Dr. Su-young continued her research, but now studied human technology with their full cooperation instead of trying to understand it from battlefield observations. The discoveries had revolutionized her understanding of physics and engineering. Their mastery of fundamental forces goes beyond anything we thought possible, she reported. They can manipulate matter and energy at the quantum level, creating effects that seem like magic to less advanced civilizations. The human approach to galactic governance was unlike anything the Dominion had practiced. Instead of ruling through fear and overwhelming military force, humanity had established a cooperative alliance where each member species contributed according to their abilities and received support based on their needs. Former Dominion colonies were becoming thriving independent worlds with their own governments and military forces. Commander Jinwoo had been promoted to admiral and now commanded the human fleets responsible for maintaining peace throughout the former Dominion territory. He visited Wujin regularly to discuss the challenges of managing such a vast region of space. Your empire lasted for centuries because it was based on fear, he explained. Our alliance will last longer because it is based on mutual benefit and respect. The transformation of former Dominion space had happened with surprising speed. Trade routes that had been used to extract resources for the Imperial core worlds now carried goods and technology in all directions. Species that had been forbidden to develop advanced technology were receiving human assistance to build their own research facilities and manufacturing centers. Captain Jiwon returned from the outer regions of former Dominion space with reports that amazed even experienced human commanders. The liberated worlds are not just rebuilding, Admiral, they are innovating. When you give oppressed species access to advanced technology and the freedom to use it, they create solutions we never would have thought of. The new galactic order was emerging organically as different species contributed their unique perspectives and abilities to common problems. Worlds that had been strip-mined by Dominion industrial operations were being restored using techniques that combined human technology with indigenous knowledge about local ecosystems. Wu Jin had been assigned to work with the Transition Council on Dominion Prime, helping to establish civilian government on the former Imperial capital world. The experience had been humbling as he learned how much suffering the Empire had caused throughout the galaxy. We told ourselves we were bringing order and civilization to primitive worlds, he said during one of their planning sessions. Instead, we were destroying cultures and enslaving entire species. The human response to former Dominion personnel had been remarkably generous, considering the scale of Imperial crimes. War crimes tribunals focused on individual responsibility, rather than collective punishment, while rehabilitation programs helped former Imperial citizens adapt to life in a democratic society. Most importantly, the humans had provided opportunities for former enemies to contribute to rebuilding efforts. General Junho explained the long-term strategy during a briefing for former Dominion officers. Our goal is not to create a human empire, to replace the Dominion. We want to establish a galactic community where every species can develop according to their own values, while cooperating to solve common challenges. This requires former enemies to become partners rather than subjects. The process was not without challenges, Some former Dominion worlds struggled to adapt to democratic governance, while others faced economic difficulties as they transitioned. From extractive colonial economies to balanced local development, human advisors worked alongside local leaders to address these problems, but change took time and patience. Admiral Tae-hyun had become the overall coordinator for human military operations throughout the galaxy. His forces were smaller than the old Dominion fleets but far more effective due to superior technology and the support of local populations. "We learned from studying your empire's mistakes," he told Wu Jin during one of their strategic planning meetings. "Military force alone cannot maintain control over dozens of worlds. You need the willing cooperation of the people you are trying to protect." The new Galactic Alliance was beginning to face challenges from outside the former Dominion territory. Other aggressive empires had taken notice of the rapid changes and were probing for weaknesses in human defenses. But these potential threats found themselves facing not just human military forces, but coalition fleets composed of ships and crews from dozens of different worlds working together. Professor Neon had published research showing that the cooperative model was more efficient than Imperial systems. When species work together voluntarily, they share knowledge and resources more effectively than when they are forced to submit to a central authority. Her studies concluded. The diversity of approaches and perspectives leads to better solutions than any single species could develop alone. Captain Mi-young commanded one of the exploration fleets that were pushing beyond the boundaries of known space. Her mission was to make contact with other civilizations and offer them the opportunity to join the growing Galactic Alliance. "We have learned that it is better to make friends before you need them," she explained. "The galaxy contains threats that no single species can handle alone." The transformation was most visible on worlds like Kepler-7, where former slave populations had become free citizens of independent governments. Schools taught children about their own cultural heritage alongside galactic history, while research centers developed technologies suited to local conditions rather than serving distant imperial needs. Wu Jin stood on the observation deck watching ships from dozens of different worlds arriving and departing from the orbital stations around Kepler-7. Each vessel represented a success story of liberation and reconstruction. Species that had been enemies under Dominion rule now worked together as equals in building a better future. Commander Jinwoo joined him at the viewing port as they watched a convoy of relief supplies heading toward a world that was recovering from ecological damage caused by Dominion mining operations. "Do you regret what happened to your empire, Admiral?" he asked quietly. Wu Jin considered the question carefully as he watched the ships disappear into hyperspace, carrying hope to worlds that had known only exploitation for generations. "I regret the suffering we caused," he replied. "But I cannot regret the end of a system that was built on the oppression of innocent people. Your way is better, even if it took the destruction of everything I once believed in, for me to understand that." The new galactic order was still young and faced many challenges, but it offered something the Dominion never had: